Okay, Kat, can you start a little bit at the beginning? You are a somatic pleasure and trauma coach, which was a new term for me. So I'm really looking forward to hearing more about what that entails and learning from you. But you also have a history with chronic pain that started when you were young that led to this. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, I think first I'll share what somatic means for anybody in your
Great.
audience who maybe doesn't know what that means. Essentially, that just means in the body. So the if someone has somatic in the title in their name, the intention is that the body is being invited into the process. So in the work that I do, instead of just talk therapy, we're talking things out, which can be very helpful.
Hmm.
We're inviting the body into the process because
Okay.
80% of your neural pathways come from your body up, which means 80% of the information you're receiving from the world around you comes through your body first and
Oh,
then is sort of sent through your brain to process it
wow.
within your thinking brain. And so we do like 99%, or we do a lot of our processing through talking, maybe writing.
Yeah.
We don't do a lot of it through the body, which means like if someone comes into my room and says, "Today I'm feeling anxious," I might ask, "How do you know that you're feeling anxious? What does anxious actually feel like in your body?" And so the hope with the somatic piece is that we're allowing the body to share its story to figure out how and where have our experiences showed up in our body, and have we completed those stress cycles, have we responded and tended to the experiences that we've had, and our body's going to let us know. It's going to tell us through a lot of different symptoms. A lot of those symptoms we're going to notice in a very loud way in perimenopause because, when we're around 35, we're not regenerating ourselves the same way that we used to.
Yes.
There's like a bit of a decline starting to happen. We're moving through the middle stage of our life. And at that time, we're going to start noticing all the symptoms of the things we thought maybe we survived well or did well. And we're going to start feeling the impacts of it in our 30s and 40s. And it's going to show up in our hormones and in our cycles.
Yeah.
So that's the somatic piece, is just essentially means in the body.
Okay.
Yeah.
Amazing.
And what was your
Amazing.
other question?
Well, I read that you've had chronic pain most of your life, and I feel
Mm.
like that kind of led to what the work that you do now, but I could have been wrong about that.
You are definitely correct. Yeah.
Okay.
I'll say when I first started doing this work, I first started out as like a sex coach, and I thought, I want to support people in feeling good in their bodies. I want them to have more access to pleasure. And what I kept bumping up against was trauma, was that
Mm,
a lot of people struggle to access pleasure because they have either these events that have changed the way they relate to their bodies and their experience of pleasure, or that they have these lifelong experiences and habitual patterns that impact their ability to lean towards what feels good.
mhm.
That could be like sort of the good girl syndrome, or wanting to be a perfectionist, or, growing up in a home where you didn't have any examples of anybody who enjoyed themselves like at all.
Yeah.
So then that shows up in their life. And so I notice, I'm like, okay, now I'm contending with bigger pieces here. So that's where the pleasure and trauma piece comes in. But when I was a child, when I was 4, I was diagnosed with something called Charcot-Marie tooth disease, and that's a neuropathy. So it affects your muscles, it affects your nerves and your periphery nerves, which is your arms and your legs. It can affect a lot of different host of other things in your bodies as well.
Okay.
But the way that it showed up for me was um, that my legs were not growing at the same rate. So I had a leg that was longer than one other, and my toes curled. It's called like hammer toes. And then my arches were up really high. So I
Okay.
started having all of these sort of like what you might call deformities showing up in my
Mm,
legs as I was growing. And so when I was 10, I started to have reconstructive surgeries to correct the issues that were happening because of the CMT.
okay.
And so from when I was 10 until I was 16, I had 17 major surgeries, which is a lot
It's a
for
lot.
a little body. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, I had a lot of time alone in the
Mhm.
hospital and a lot of time experiencing a pain that most people won't experience and experiencing it in isolation on my
Mm.
own in the hospital. I had this experience at a young age. I think I was probably 11 or 12, and maybe it was like my third surgery. And I'm in the hospital room, I'm by myself, and it's maybe the second day post op. So I've, the nerve block is wearing off, and I'm really feeling the impacts of the surgery. And I ended up having a spontaneous orgasm. And at the time, I didn't know what that was. I just knew that this, like, I went from being in a lot of pain to having this like flush and wave of, like endorphin. All of a sudden,
Yeah.
my body is feeling euphoric, and I'm feeling like a sense of relief from the pain, yet the pain's not gone. So I'm feeling the duality of being in pain while also feeling something that feels pleasant and pleasurable and good,
Yeah.
and not quite understanding what that means, but understanding in that moment that those two things can coexist at the same time, which is a really profound
Yeah.
thing, a gift to understand at such a young age, that I can be experiencing things that are really difficult and painful and still experience goodness, still experience pleasure, still move toward something that feels good and isn't just bad. I don't have to be like just in the pain body.
Yeah.
So that was like a moment that sort of altered my whole experience of being a disabled kid and teenager. And I started seeking pleasurable experiences. Part of that was just my own exploration to find relief and find meaning
Yeah.
for being in this body that just did not work the way that I thought it would work. And there's a lot of grief in that, right? Like,
Of course.
and I mean, there is a gift in being and having had to reckon with that at such a young age, because I'm not surprised as I age and my body changes and works differently. It's not a surprise for me. I'm like, yeah, here we are again. We have arrived at this precipice in this moment where things are different, and now I'm grieving what my body looked like, felt like, how it worked before.
Yeah.
And that's part of our process of being a woman, is that our
Mhm.
body is we have so many different moments in our life where everything is kind of changing, and there's not a lot of honor, and there's not a lot of ritual or even reverence and around what our bodies experience. As I got older, I pleasure just became a really important part of my life, and not in a way that's really like fluffy, like, I don't, not like making it seem like trivializing it. What I also discovered in that experience is that pleasure is healing, that the more that I seek goodness and pleasure, the more resilience I actually have to endure what feels intolerable and what feels painful and hard. And that healing isn't something that we just do inside of a hospital or inside of a therapy room, and we're talking about the hard things and we're doing the hard thing. Sometimes healing is actually just playing and being
Yeah.
joyful and going in the world and remapping these stressful responses in our body onto something that feels choiceful and empowering and pleasant. So for me, that's the antithesis of my work, is that we can actually heal in really joyful, playful ways, and it doesn't have to be so difficult.
I really like that. I really like it because it's really easy to get to this stage of life when we have more probably going on and we're more needed maybe than ever before, and you really can forget about pleasure.
Yeah. Or
Yeah,
forget that you matter or you even belong
of
to yourself. As
course.
a mom, oh my gosh,
Yes.
it's a lot.
Let's talk about that healing through pleasure just before we even dig in further, because I think probably, um, and I could be wrong about this, but I think probably a lot of the women listening are a little bit like, um, pleasure, bleh, you know, like if they're thinking about it in the terms of sex, like it is probably way down on their list. Um, so let's just talk about that.
I, I do feel like most women, especially if we're in the life of parenting and obligation and expectation, and maybe we're married and our life is like an onslaught of to-do lists,
Mhm.
and then you're adding sex as a to-do list to connect to your partner,
Yeah.
except that a lot of the sex doesn't feel like it's for you,
Yeah.
and there isn't and it's not oriented to your pleasure necessarily, or maybe you don't understand what you even want, which is what a lot of women experience. I don't even know where to begin to even know what I want.
Right.
Which feels which can feel really daunting to not even know what you want. So yeah, I think pleasure can feel like a really scary word.
It can. Yeah.
Yeah.
It can feel
Yeah.
super daunting.
Yeah.
Um, I hear a lot of women who mention that, and this is a conversation I've had with so many friends and close loved ones. Sex is just something they do for their partner. They don't really want to. Um, it's more of an obligation. Can you talk about what's happening in our bodies when we override those feelings?
Yeah, what we do is we create a pattern in our body of resistance. So we have these competing impulses that are happening. One is obligation. I feel like I should do this. It's my job, it's my role. And we are so deeply entrenched in this belief system. Even if we
Yeah.
say, I know that I deserve pleasure, or I know that sex should be for me, there is something that lives within us generationally and historically that
Hmm.
tells us that we owe sex as women.
Right.
So there's like this piece that we have to acknowledge, which is historically our bodies have been used, our bodies have been traded, our bodies, we have been sold off to men. Like, and so now we're at this time in history where we have the most power we've ever had as women, and we are having to unravel these pieces. So there's
Hmm.
that. But every time that I push past my own limit and I push past my own boundary and I don't listen to my own body and I endure sex, there is like this betrayal that's happening in our own self. And when we do that, it's really hard to access pleasure or to even know what we might want, because now our body is going into like this constricted place.
Hmm.
So that anytime my partner even looks at me a certain way, anytime I sort of get like any whiff that he might want sex or they might want sex, my body goes into like this freeze position. Because now pleasure, something that's supposed to feel good, is coupled with all of these other pieces that feel more complicated.
Right.
Because maybe I don't feel like I have a voice in sex. Maybe I feel I don't want to make them feel bad by telling
Hmm.
them, that I don't actually like that or I need more of this. And so it gets so complicated. And obviously, if we had better sex education, if we just like in general, our families had healthier ways to talk about sex, like a lot of this would be mitigated, but that's not the case for us, right?
Yeah.
Um, so this sort of enduring pattern in your nervous system, it becomes this self protection, right? I don't want to move towards you because you now feel unsafe. So touch that we may have loved early on in the relationship, like our partner coming up behind us and hugging us. Now we are going into this self-protective space because there is this piece in us that wants to rebel against what we should do and
Hmm.
what we think we're obligated to do. And that little rebellious part of us will say no. So if I'm not going to use my voice and say, no, I'm actually not interested in that, here's what I would like instead. If I'm not going to actually speak up for myself, my body's going to find a way to do it anyway. So
Mm.
that's going to be avoiding. It's going to be sort of collapsing. It's going to be finding a way, staying too busy instead of just having the conversation. So now you have this long-standing pattern, and it takes time to unravel that and
Yeah.
reorient to something. So once we've had been doing that for 20 years,
Yeah.
now you're bringing it up to your partner and saying, actually, I would like to have different kind of sex with you. It's not been feeling good for me. That will take time now for your body to actually feel safe enough to orient towards pleasure.
Great. So let's just go further with that for the woman who's listening and they're like, that's me. I've been doing that. What would you say to them and how could they start to move to something different? Because for most of the women I know, they genuinely love their partner.
Yeah.
They're not looking to like blow up their lives, but this is a real issue that is causing a disconnection. So what do you suggest?
Yeah. I mean, one, I would say I would assume that if you're in like a good enough, loving enough relationship, that your partner probably wants to have that conversation too, even if it's uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And that honesty is going to um be your biggest ally in that, to actually come forward and say, like, I actually haven't really been enjoying the sex we've been having, and I'm noticing that I avoid sex and intimacy, and I actually really miss you. And so I want to talk about how we're going to renegotiate the type of sex we have, or explore new territory together, because we've been together for 15 years and my body has changed and I don't know what I want anymore.
Mm.
Or I do know what I want, and I'm curious if you're interested in that. So that's like one place, one way to sort of navigate it. The other is that, especially for mothers, for women and mothers, it is important that sex has like a really selfish component to it, that it is
Okay.
for us. The best sex that we're going to have is sex that's selfish.
Yeah.
And the reason for that is because our whole lives are giving ourselves up to other people. We don't belong to ourselves in our lives. We belong to our community, our children, the school, our jobs, our husbands, our parents, our siblings. It's
Mm-hmm.
just like we're pouring out. And so in this domain of sex and pleasure, it's one of the last places where we really get to be in our animal body, and we
Mm.
really get to be more expressive in a way that we don't have access to really in our day-to-day life. And so if our sex feels like obligation, and we're not having the sex we want to be having, doesn't mean that's necessarily like our partner's fault. It's like, that's a two-way street. But if we're not having the sex we want to be having, then like, why would I feel motivated to move in that direction?
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to avoid what doesn't feel good. And so if the sex I'm having doesn't feel good, I'm going to avoid it. So if we can start to ask ourselves, if I was really honest and sex was just for me, and I didn't have to consider my partner, if I go into my fantasy, what does my fantasy world tell me? Because up here in my fantasy, I don't have to consider boundaries, limits, uh, things in my body that does or doesn't work. Like, it gets to be fantasy. So when
Mm-hmm.
I go up there, what exists in my fantasy? What is for me? What does the sex actually look like? And then how do I bring that into reality? What pieces of that can I actually explore with my partner? And if you're listening and you're thinking, I don't even know what I want, like, how do I even begin to know what I want?
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, honestly, that is a really big conversation. We could spend the whole time just talking about different strategies to figure out what you actually want.
Okay.
So one thing is like pleasure mapping. And that can look like setting aside an hour of time with yourself or with your partner, and starting really slow and warming the body up. And you might literally have a bath, you might dance, you might sort of just like lay on the bed and really relax, do yoga, whatever gets you feeling like in your body.
Okay.
And then you're going to slowly explore different sensations, different pressures, textures, different types of touch, paces of touch. And you're going to, if it's with a partner, you could use like a 1 to 10 system. And 10 is like, this is the best. And 1 is, I'm not interested in this. And you're going to like start naming, like, okay, now that my body's warmed up, when you kiss my neck, it's a 9. I love that. But when you kiss the back of my neck, it's a 1. I don't like that. So you're just like mapping, you're finding new territory on like the map that is your body, and reorienting, because what you liked at the beginning of your relationship is probably not what you enjoy anymore.
Yeah.
Even if you even knew what you enjoyed then,
Right.
but if you did, it's changed certainly through, birth, through stress, through loss, through perimenopause, menopause, through changes in your cycle. Like, our bodies change and what we
Mm-hmm.
like changes. So you're just like inviting your partner to figure that out together and say, I don't know what I love anymore. Do you know what you love?
Yeah.
Do you have a sense of what I enjoy? I have a list of questions that I will send to my couples that I work with. And some of those questions are, do you think you accurately read my up for sex cues? Do you think you accurately are able to notice my pain cues versus pleasure cues? Like, do you think you have a good sense of what turns me on and what turns me off? And just like having these honest conversations, which, they're going to be probably exciting, but mostly uncomfortable
Mm-hmm.
if you've never talked about sex in this way. And if you've just been having obligatory sex for like 10, 15, 20 years, it's going to be hard to come out of that pattern.
Yeah.
So you have to be willing. If you want it to be different, you've got to try different things. So that's another route as well, is to have these really honest conversations and ask some questions. Anybody can reach out to me and I would just send them to them. And another piece is, and this is my favorite, which is learning how to actually feel good in your own body outside of sexual contexts.
Okay.
So what that would look like is to notice, where in your life are you rushing through everything? Like, where are you rushing through things that could actually feel good? Even an example, we go to the bathroom, and how many women are like aggressively wiping and then quickly getting off the toilet? Like, we're just so utilitarian and kind of rough with our bodies.
Yeah.
Like, can we just pee and be nice to our vulvas? Like, could we try that? That would be like one place to start. Another would be to actually like wash your face slowly. It's so simple, but I've never met a woman who slowly washes her face and just notices, what does the soap feel like? What does my skin feel like? Where is there more nerve endings and it feels more sensitive? So we're building a more acute awareness of your interoception, your proprioception, and being able to actually identify sensations on your body. And so you're starting to learn, what do I like? What do I not like? Where is there more sensation, less sensation? What kind of pressure do I like or not like? So you're starting in this more subtle way, and it's building that acute awareness, but it's also building your capacity to be with pleasure. Because really excellent sex happens when we can take our time. It's like the foreplay started days ago. Sex doesn't start in the bedroom. It starts much, much earlier, because especially as like estrogen based bodies, we love context. Context makes for good sex. It's why we like to read fantasy novels. It's why we have these like rich imaginations. We actually like a lot of novelty, more so than most men actually do. This is why long-term relationships, our desire sort of plummets and theirs continues to rise or stay steady. Because when we are younger, for men, for boys in testosterone-based bodies, whatever they're exposed to early on, it sort of sets the tone. They're kind of always going to like the same thing.
Okay.
Most people's partners, who, if they're like good enough, kind enough men, they're going to see your body even when it changes, and they're going to be like, yep, ready to go. Yep, ready to go. Aside from stressors and, life things, but generally they're going to find you attractive. But for women, their attraction ebbs and flows. And it is so context based. So if I've had a really stressful day and I haven't had any moments of connection with my partner, and then it's the end of the day and he's like, okay, are you up for sex? It's like, no. Where was the warm up? Where's the build up? Where's the arousal? Like, we know that if we have a partner, we're with men and they've got a penis, we're often not like, okay, you have no erection, let's go ahead and have sex. Like, would we? No. We know, we're waiting for you to be fully aroused before we engage in sex usually.
Yeah.
So why aren't we waiting for our bodies to be fully aroused? Because we also have erectile tissue, and our bodies also experience arousal. We also need fluid and blood flow to our genitals to experience arousal, enough for us to actually want the sex that we're having. So that's another piece as well, is to actually have more conversations around what creates the context for turn on in our relationship. What turns me on? What makes me feel really hot and excited? And what makes me actually want to move toward pleasure?
Yeah.
And that's a conversation with our partner. But honestly, like, a lot of that work is ourselves, because we've probably spent our lives enduring, pushing through, pushing past, and we have shoddy relationships to pleasure and joy. We feel it in a very minimal way. Even when you ask people, how do you experience gratitude? People will list off the things they think they should say. But what does it mean? How do you feel gratitude? What does gratitude actually feel like in your body? A lot of people can't answer that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I'm waiting. I was like, okay, maybe she's going to tell me. I don't know.
I mean, I can tell you what it feels like in my body, but I don't know what it feels like in yours.
Oh my goodness. I love that. But so I think something that was on my mind when I'm listening, I'm like, okay, so for women who are listening, are they like, oh my gosh, this is just something that's like more work? And maybe you can also just talk about the importance of why that matters to us, why pleasure, why investing in what makes us feel good is important for our joy and our lives moving forward.
Oh my gosh, I love that you said that, because I'm so inside this world, and my relationship to pleasure has always been such a focus that
Okay.
sometimes I forget that if you don't have access to it, it does feel like a job.
Yeah.
You're
Yeah,
like,
you just
because
listed
you,
things I'm like, "Ooh, okay, I gotta put that on my radar." Like
and now I have another thing to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. This is also why we think hot sex, like it turns us on if our partners plan a date and just say like, wear this and show up. It's like,
Yeah,
so I'm like, oh, thank God. Like
I know.
one less thing for me to have to manage. And that's it. That's the context piece. But I think something that I would maybe invite them to consider is, notice how you feel as you hear this conversation about pleasure. Can you feel this inner self, this something in you that wants to be set free from the confines of expectation,
Mm,
obligation, enduring, pushing through? Like, you're already not having that good of a time, probably,
yeah.
certainly in some ways. You're already working really hard. So why not put in some effort and energy into something that might actually set you free?
Ooh.
Might actually make you feel like your life is worth being inside of.
Yeah.
And if you think of a time when you were a child, let's say, I'm 7 years old and I'm running through this field, and I'm running I'm running through the forest, and I'm with my friends and we're laughing, and I can just feel how like easeful my body moves, and just like being able to feel the wind on my face and hear it whip past me and hear the laughter of my friends and feel this sense of freedom in my body, this ability to just like feel so alive. That's pleasure.
Mm,
That's joy. And we've taken anything that feels good and made it like a job,
yeah.
like, and our whole lives are, everything's like a job. We stopped playing.
Mhm.
Even most people, like if you think of your own children and you like watch them play at a young age, where are you? You're watching the play. You're
You're watching.
facilitating the play.
Mhm.
Yeah. So we learn at a young age. Your children are seeing you not playing. They are learning adults stop playing. But
Yeah.
play is how we learn. Play is where we build resilience and capacity for life stress. Play is where we learn what we are capable of, where we meet the edges of ourselves. This is why children love to climb trees and plow into each other and wrestle and just like really figure things out, because they are using play to figure out, who am I in this world? And when we stop creatively trying to figure out who we are in this world, then we are locking ourselves into this very specific identity. Okay, this is who I am. I'm Kat. I do these things. And it's the same thing every single day, over and over and over again, on repeat.
Yeah.
Yet we are these like generative, creative beings. It's incredible. Like, we have such capacity to create, and yet here's the same thing I do every day, in and out, in and out. Here's my personality. Here's who I call Kat Nantz.
Right.
It's boring, and it lacks so much joy, so much generative nature. It doesn't open us to the world. We miss so much. So, I mean, that is a huge conversation, is like, how does pleasure contribute to our life? What makes it worth pursuing? And the answer is
Yeah.
that is our core nature. Who
Mm.
we are in our nature is playful and joyful and regenerative and creative. And the same way that, a sunflower orients itself to the sun, it orients itself to what feels good. That's our nature. We are
Mm.
meant to orient ourselves to what feels good. It's not supposed to feel this hard all the time. It's supposed to feel good. And when we're able to orient ourselves to pleasure more, what that also opens us up to is to notice, to have more generous assumptions for the people in our lives.
Yeah.
It opens us up to being more generous and less critical. The more stress capacity I have, the more I'm able to go through difficult things in my life or challenging moments and come out the other side feeling really resilient.
Yeah.
But if I don't have access to pleasure and joy, then everything feels harder. because your nervous system is going one or two ways: threat and survival, or joy and play. We're not in both lanes at the same time. So your nervous system is either moving toward connection and joyfulness and goodness, or it's moving towards everything's a threat, something's wrong, I'm not okay, they're not okay, this is not good. I don't want to live over here. This is a lot of work, and it's a cost. It's a massive cost on our health and our well-being. This makes us sick, really, really unwell. This causes a lot of illness. This does not. This sets us free.
That was great. Such a good job explaining that. And yeah, I think that's going to be really powerful and helpful for so many women. I want to talk about the shame component, and I want to talk about it in the perimenopause space. And it does kind of come from two different angles. It's coming at us, one, our bodies have changed. And I think from what I am gathering from my community is, we're not liking this body at this stage of life. So we've got that happening. And then also we've been carrying around all of this kind of like shame. So talk to us about that and how that's holding us back, and then how we can release some of that.
Okay. There's so many different
I
ways that I could
know.
go in that. That's such a great
Broad
question.
question.
No, I love it so much.
Okay.
It's rich. And
Okay.
one thing I want to say is that we can't do pleasure. We can't do healing work without doing pleasure work, boundaries work, and anger work.
Okay.
And I can't access pleasure unless I have access to anger. And if I don't express my boundaries, then I'm not going to have access to pleasure or joy or freedom. Like, all of this is intertwined, because your boundaries and your anger are your self-protective responses in your nervous system. But if I don't protect myself, and I wasn't protected very well as a child, then I don't have a very good relationship to my anger. But your anger is forward moving energy, like it's life force, it's powerful. And a lot of us either have no good example of anger, whether that's someone who floods or someone who shuts down and they don't express themselves. So we're like, what do we do with these feelings? And the answer is often anger, when it's expressed in this really fluid way in the moment as I'm experiencing it, you're just completing a stress cycle. We collapse feelings with identity onto morality.
Yeah.
We avoid conflict and call it being a nice person. No, you're not. You're afraid of speaking up for yourself. It's selfish. You're afraid of upset feelings because you don't know how to feel your feelings, and you can't be with other people's feelings. That's not nice. That's what nice looks like. The whole point is that healing requires us to access and play in all of those domains. So that's not what your actual question was. Your question was what?
It was so big.
It was such a good question.
Let me give you the broadest question and you answer it all for us. Okay, so that did kind of hit on like that emotional side of, what was my question, Kat?
I know, I'm trying to remember. It was good. I really enjoyed that question.
I wanted to know. Well, I was saying our bodies are changing, but then we also have all of this.
Oh, good.
Okay,
I got it. Thank you for bringing us back around. So the first question is, I would have women ask themselves, who benefits from me feeling like this about myself?
Yeah.
Who benefits from me feeling like, oh, I don't like this perimenopausal body that's changing. I don't want gray hairs. I don't want wrinkles. I don't want to feel bloated. I don't want to feel like my skin's less dull. I really want women to ask themselves, who benefits from us feeling like shit about ourselves?
Yeah.
Can you imagine being like, you're a young woman and the women in your life are ushering you through these stages. They're letting you know that you are going to go through this stage, perimenopause. It's an initiation into your cronehood. This is an initiation into like this real grown energy, and your hormones are going to be all over the place. everything in your body's going to change, and you're going to have to reckon with what you did not reckon with, where you pushed through, where you did not honor your own boundaries, where you didn't stand up for yourself, where you didn't move towards what was good for you, what you wanted, what you needed more of, or, you know, where you sort of dissociated, whatever. You're going to reckon with that through this transition. This transition is teaching us to be with what we weren't able to be with.
Yeah.
Perimenopause is actually really powerful. It is an incredible transition. And then we get to come out on the other side and not like be bothered with anything that was before. We get to be ushered into this crone energy. And so the other piece to me is like, what would it feel like for us to not care so much about what we look like?
Mm.
What if we were like less precious about whether we were desirable? Because there's so many inherited beliefs in why we feel the way that we feel. Part of it's like our hormones are impacting how we feel, like literally. That is a very real piece. But there's this emotional component, and I just want women to have more critical thinking around, why am I thinking what I'm thinking? Why do I feel the way that I feel? What informs that thought? What informs that belief? And for me, this is the privilege of having been disabled my whole life, is that my body is always doing something that feels outside of my control, that, you know, doesn't exactly feel desirable to be disabled, if I'm being quite frank. Watching my body change rapidly, like I'm losing muscle, or, you know, that my gait changes and I walk with a limp. I have to reckon with that. Every time it changes, I'm like, oh, here we go. Something that is outside of my control. And what's the wisdom in this? How do I choose and be choiceful in how I feel about this? So that I get to be the narrator of my story about it. That's where I do get choice.
Yeah.
And so with perimenopause, like as women, our bodies are always changing. Like that is the only thing we can count on, is that our bodies are different all the time. And your body just never stops changing. It's like you're born and it's always changing every day since. And we're stuck with this idea of being like in this one little specific window of time.
Right.
For who though? Who wants us to be that?
Yeah.
Why can't we grow old and get fat and ugly and gray hair and just be like wise old crones together and not care? Like there's a privilege in aging.
Yeah.
And we forget that. And there's a privilege in your face changing and your body changing. And we want to erase that. But do we actually want to? Or is that informed by this culture that we're inside of that wants us to always be young?
Yeah. So great.
This is a lot. A lot in there.
No, I liked it. I liked that. Okay. Honestly, Kat, I just need to have you back, because like I had all of these questions and now I'm like, oh my gosh, we've already been talking 45 minutes. We didn't get to talk about libido. We didn't get to talk about like the good girl syndrome. And then I really want like just some like real practical tips from you for all of these women. So yeah, you have to come back.
I would love to.
But I do. I want to end and talk about some desires, because I think that that's also a thing when we're getting to this age. You already mentioned, one, we may not know what we want, but two, some of those things have just changed. What we wanted is not what we want now. So maybe talk about how we can explore that. Yeah, what that can look like to get rid of some of the shame that we have changed.
I think sometimes the simpler way to orient towards pleasure is not in sex. For people, if you're sort of suspecting that your audience has maybe been in long-term relationships, maybe they're mothers, they've given themselves to people, just like really given themselves to everybody else but themselves.
Right.
It can be really difficult to then orient to this sense of belonging to ourselves. And so for me to know what feels good here, I have to first acknowledge what doesn't feel good.
Okay.
So I would start a list of, where am I enduring? Where am I pushing past my boundaries? Where am I pushing past my limits? Where am I saying yes when I'm a no?
Mm-hmm.
And I would start collecting that data. And then I would have a separate list that would say, in my day, what is for me?
Mm-hmm.
And you're probably going to have this little wee list over here and this very long list over here. Yeah, just like paragraphs. And very rarely of working with hundreds and hundreds of women have I ever seen this list being even matching close to this or being longer. I've very rarely ever met a woman who doesn't give more of herself in her world than to others than she gives to herself. And this isn't just like bubble baths, but or these, and those things are good. But what it really is acknowledging that how am I supposed to, if my whole day is habits around taking care of other people and not myself,
Mm-hmm.
then I don't have the practice of taking care of myself.
Mm-hmm.
So I first have to like come and be with the truth of my situation. And the other piece is skills are transferable. If you're really good at taking care of other people, you can become really good at taking care of yourself. We're going to transfer that skill right on over to yourself as if you matter.
I love
You might ask
that.
yourself, what if I showed up in my life as if I too mattered?
Yeah.
What if I actually matter? What if my joy matters? What if my pleasure matters? What if?
Mm-hmm.
And we just want to start asking these questions. Can I start getting curious about how my life is already situated in a way that it probably doesn't lend well to my pleasure?
Mm-hmm.
And then I would start noticing in my day what does feel good. So I want to start tracking that. And what we're doing with that question is we are orienting towards pleasure instead of survival.
Okay.
Or what would make this moment feel even better? Even right now, as you're listening to this, are you enduring something? Are your feet cold? Are you sitting in an uncomfortable position? Are you clenching your jaw? And just ask yourself, what would make this moment even better? Okay, I might put some warm socks on. I might actually breathe. I might let my jaw drop from my jaw drop and my shoulders drop from my ears. Even being able to just slowly start to orient towards, well, how do I make this moment better?
Mm-hmm.
Then it starts to spiral. It starts to snowball because now all we're thinking about is, what could I have more of? Oh, that feels good. I want more of that. And we start searching. We start becoming that sunflower that's like, where's the sun? Where's the sun? And then when you're feeling something that's good, invite yourself to stay a little bit longer. If I go out and it's been gloomy for 3 days straight, I don't know what it's like there, but you can see it's gloomy here. If I go out and the sun is shining in the morning and I'm like, oh, that's nice. Can I just like pause and stand there and let it soak in and really notice that? Oh, I can feel it in my bones. Like I feel it go all the way through my skin and my tissue. I feel it in my bones. Because being able to feel good and orient towards pleasure and want more sex requires us to actually slow down and be in the moment. Pleasure happens here, right here, where we are, not there in the future, not there in the past. Pleasure requires us to be right here. And our quality of presence is what changes our relationship to pleasure, to joy, to healing. Healing happens right here in the presence zone when we're in the actual moment, because it means we're not pulling the past in, we're not pulling the future in.
Yeah.
So if I actually want to feel good in my body, I have to be in it. Somebody has to be home.
Yeah.
Pleasure comes knocking and I'm not home, then like, okay, well, so you actually have to start feeling your body in order to know what you want in sex, in order to be able to ask for more of what you want in your relationships. Even if it's like, I actually just want to come home from work and lay on the couch like I did when I was a kid. I'm going to do that. And don't ask permission. Just like, or disappear up into your bedroom and just lay down and put your favorite song on and just like get in your blanket. Like just do something that's for you and don't ask anybody for permission. So if I actually want to be like, what do I want in sex? And I don't know, I'm going to wager that, yeah, because you're probably not in your body.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really difficult to be in your body when you're enduring, because your soul says, no, thank you. I'm going to exit and be over there because this isn't safe. It's too much. So if you can slow down and just be right there in that moment and feel yourself, then we have access to all of these things that feel so much better. But also to just note for people that when we land in our body, now our body's going to talk to us and it's going to say, hey, I don't like this thing. Hey, this hasn't been feeling good. Hey, you've been ignoring these stomach pains, and these stomach pains are actually this indicator of you constantly saying yes when you're a no. It's you feeling afraid that your partner's going to leave you, or that, you're this or that. Like whatever's coming up is going to show up in that moment.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Gotta prepare.
Gotta prepare.
I really liked that because you're so right. And I don't think I'm alone in doing this, but like yesterday, I was helping a kid with homeschool. I was taking care of a baby. I was working over here and my feet were freezing and I had to pee. I was thirsty. I did not take care of one of those things. And I think so many of us do that. And you're just, and there's even this twisted part of you that thinks, well, I'm strong. Look at all the things I'm doing and capable of. And so you start to really orient towards that. And you're absolutely right. Like feeling in your body and doing something about that becomes so low and you're not living. And that is the thing when I'm like, what do I want? I want to be present. That I think most moms, isn't that the thing we say? We want to be present. But it's such a practice, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a practice, just like it was a practice for you to learn how to endure and override your own needs. That took decades.
Yeah.
For you to become an expert at that.
Become so good at it.
Give yourself some time to learn how to reorient to something else, and also pat yourself on the back because you're really good at committing to something. So shift that commitment over here. And every time you put on your socks or you slow down and you take that drink of water, you are saying, I matter. Like, I matter. I exist. I'm a person that matters.
Yeah.
And you don't actually have to live in a state of emergency. There's nothing urgent is happening. It's like a lot's happening. Your kid needs this baby's here, you're working, a lot's happening, but none of it's urgent.
Yeah.
And we have to have the ability, the awareness to track when I'm living in an urgency state and to look around. Is there anything urgent right now? Is there a fire? Is there a flood? Is there my kids putting something dangerous in their mouth? What's the emergency here? Oh, there isn't one. Oh, then I can put my socks on.
Yeah.
And our work in this life, this is what I want you to think of as your work in this life, is to create enough safety in this body that your soul feels safe to be here. Like because this is when you name that experience, like every woman, but every mother especially is going to relate to that moment. It's like your body's moving like this and your soul's like, shit, like I can't keep up. Like you're like, oh my God, like it's too fast. And it's like there's this catch up happening. We have to be willing and like honestly brave enough, because it's scary to be in your body when you haven't really been in there, because now you got to reckon with everything.
Yeah.
We have to be brave enough to stop and say, I want this to feel like a home. I want to feel like this body belongs to me. I want to feel good in it. I want to revere it for the incredible things that it does. This beautiful temple that ushers me in my life. And I can't respect this body if I don't take care of it. Think of any of your belongings. It's like the ones you respect, you tend to and care for. And the ones you do not respect, you do not tend to and you do not care for.
Right.
If it matters to you, you take care of it. So when you don't take care of yourself, you're saying you don't matter. So no surprise, you look in the mirror and think, I don't like what I see, because you don't treat yourself well.
Yeah.
It's hard to like something that you don't treat well.
My mind is blown. Here I was coming in, I'm expecting this one type of conversation, and now you've blown my world open. And it's really exciting though, isn't it? Like to think,
Mhm.
because what you said is it's what I think so many of us want, which is to be living,
Yeah.
to be living.
Yeah.
And it's exciting to think, okay, if I put some work into here and this could snowball into something where you're just really feeling joy. And I love that.
Yeah. Your big, beautiful life where you feel really alive and in your body is on the other side of you actually being in your body and tending to it.
My goodness, we've been talking for a long time. This is
Oh, yeah.
incredible. I loved it. I want you to come back. I think that there's so much more that we can learn from you. Thank you so much for being here and for sharing your wisdom with us.